Nigel McGuinness, who earlier in the day was announced as being signed by AEW, is with Tony Khan. And Tony Khan's big announcement is that back in 2018, Cody Rhodes, the Young Bucks, and Kenny Omega launched All In. So coming up on Sunday, August 27th, it is going to be AEW All In, and it is going to take place at Wembley Stadium in London, England. Tickets on sale May the 5th, their first UK show. And unlike some of the other locations they have gone to for the first time, they are going to a gigantic venue. This is their most ambitious show ever that they are running.
90,000?
That is what it can hold up to. I don't know what the configuration will be like, but yes, this destroys like.
What did they announce for SummerSlam 92? What's the
real number is like it's like 78, 79. I don't know the exact
WWE's number, like 90 something.
I don't know what they announced for that show.
Okay. Anyway, yeah, huge. Like, is this worthy of the huge announcement tease?
It's pretty big. I think people were expecting the London announcement. I don't know how many people were expecting Wembley Stadium.
Mm-hmm. I think it's worthy, just because of to me, that's the announcement is AEW trying to attempt to pack as their biggest house ever. Can they do it? Can they fill it?
It's going to be very interesting. I think that if there's anywhere that they can do their largest attendance ever, like London would be pretty high on the list for me. I don't know what. It would be very hard to imagine them filling like this level of stadium. But I don't know. Like it's uncharted territory because they've never been there. They've never been to the UK, and a first time show where it's going to be all loaded up. In terms of popularity, it's not the AEW popularity peak, but I mean, again, WWE going there in 92 was hardly their popularity peak. So just because something is maybe not at its upper popularity peak here in the US, like you're getting that in a market that has only watched this, and you're going to be getting it at a major event, a major pay-per-view. And I guess it also brings up the question, like, do they do All Out? Is this in place of All Out?
Because that would be the week or a week after. And
I would not suggest doing back-to-back weekends, but Tony has been very high on tradition and Labor Day weekend in Chicago being that tradition. And, we had seen the reports of them potentially looking at the United Center for All Out. So it does become a question if they are going to attempt to do All Out on top of this, which would be another pay-per-view this year. And if I was going to add it, I don't know if I would be adding them on back-to-back weeks. That would not be, I don't know if I want to give myself a week to build up a pay-per-view.
I guess, they could probably still fill or at least do really well at a United Center, even after so close after like a UK show. I think you're trying to cater to different markets that won't have a chance to go to another show. I think if they were doing this at like the O2 Arena and it's the first time in, and I would still say back-to-back weekends on pay-per-view, it's like you're asking way too much of people. Right.
But when you're trying to sell this many tickets, I'm not holding anything back for the next week. You are throwing everything and then some onto this card. This has to be their most loaded card ever. And you cannot, I can't say like there's no chance they do it, but I would think like that would be a really tough ask of your audience. And I think it would semi-hurt this show, and because you would have to be able to build up a show for the next week. Anyway, we're getting way ahead of ourselves. But yeah, this will be a big test in terms of like what the appetite is there. Like we could be very surprised by how high the demand is for here. Like of all the places AEW can go that they have not already, this to me represents the largest appetite of anywhere in the world that has not got it. And honestly, I would expect a bigger first impression here in London than Toronto even.
Does the show need CM Punk?
I would want CM Punk on a stadium show. Yes. So we will see. Like this would be the show I would want him to be back on.
Let's go to Super Chat that was just sent in here. This one from Matt, who says, thank you for the support, Matt. He says, what's a main event match you think could sell a ton of tickets for All In?
Omega against Punk.
That would probably be the biggest possible match they could make with two people that are currently under contract. Yeah.
At All In, the show we started.
So if you don't have Punk,
I mean, then you're looking at, your available options.
Will Ospreay versus Kenny Omega.
Yeah, that's certainly, if you, that would be something very,
maybe
very
a
big.
rubber match.
That's possible.
And that's assuming they do one at Forbidden Door. A UK guy, Will Ospreay headlining a Wembley Stadium is pretty big.
Yeah, you know what? As I almost wonder, you could do the rubber match, or you could save it. I mean, you have several big shows coming up. Yeah, that would be a great match that you could do for that market.
Who else can we think about? What are some other names you think could at least be in the role of a headlining bout?
I think you're looking at your options. Like I certainly would lean towards like an Omega in some kind of role. If you're throwing Punk out of the mix, then you've got to figure MJF is in something significant.
Yeah, maybe.
I like the Omega Ospreay option quite a lot.
If you don't have Punk, sure.
Like you don't need that one for Forbidden Door.
So you save Punk for All Out the next week.
I would not. Yeah, it's interesting if they.
That is very close.
A plan to do. Oh yeah, it makes.
What about pay-per-view though? Like, what time is this event?
I imagine this is going to be in the afternoon for us. Like, I'm sure that this is going to be. They didn't attach a time to it, did they? They sent me a press release.
No. Now, like, is there any concern you think for this show to potentially not do as good as an All Out in local time, and would that give them more incentive to actually do?
It's a consideration. It's a consideration when the vast amount of your buys is coming from North America. And putting this on a Sunday afternoon as opposed to a Sunday night.
Well, why don't they do Sunday? Okay, so I guess you can't do, because if you want to do a East Coast live, you'd have to do this late at night, which is impossible.
Yeah, this would be starting at 1 a.m. at Wembley Stadium.
Right. Okay.
Which again, they famously did do that for the Michael Bisping Dan Henderson rematch in 2016, where the card started at 10 p.m. Eastern our time. The pay-per-view started, so that was 4 a.m., 3 a.m. Local time in England. We're back on Thursday for Post Wrestling Cafe members with our review of The Art of Wrestling from November of 2014, featuring CM Punk on the show. We will be diving into that entire interview. $6 to sign up. It gives you access to all of our bonus shows, and we've got 3 coming up over the next 3 days for you. And as well, you can subscribe at video.postwrestling.com to get video versions of all of our cafe content.